I'm with the Prismo Metals team. It's nearly the full complement here. Craig, Steve, and Alain. It's a pleasure to speak to you guys on this Tuesday afternoon. How's it going?
Going extremely well.
Yeah, very good. Thanks for having us on.
Yeah, good to see you, Robert.
Yeah, it's been a couple weeks. I survived a storm in the meantime, and here we are. We're still here. News release this morning on this AI study that Prismo has been working on with another company, an advisor, for the last few months. You finally have all the data, and basically just reading the news here this morning, it seems like it confirms your previous assessment, but perhaps there is some new information. So why don't you tell me what you guys have learned?
Maybe I'll go first and then turn it over to the guys who actually can give the right overview of it. That we have had a number of discussions on that internally. We've had the benefit of having Craig, Steve, and also Dr. McGaw and Keating and two other doctors, one in geology and geophysics, and I it was Craig who said something that stuck with me. It was I think the results either show that there's another prize or that the prize is bigger than expected. I think is one of the ways he summarized hours of discussion. So with that introduction, whoever wants to go, Craig and Steve, and expand on that.
You want to go first, Steve?
Sure, I'll take a shot at it here. Look, our business is all about standing on the shoulders of the people that go before us, and this is another great example of that. You know, we've got this historic data that we've been working with. There was the mapping that Larry Barrett did related to his master's thesis. There was some drilling that we found out about in the 70s, but unfortunately the core has been destroyed, and there was very limited amount of information that was available from that core. And then we were able to acquire an old database that provided some of the detailed information from that drill program on certain aspects of it, including some interpretation of what the geologic model might be down there. We went out and gathered the geophysics, and now we've done the AI study that takes all of those components of information and ties them together, and then uses, you know, next level computer analysis to be able to come up with a optimized result to say, you know, you should drill from here to here to optimize your chances of testing this geologic model. And I think that's where we're at right now. We've actually confirmed that our traditional interpretation of the geology was similar to the results of the AI study, but one of the really critical things that came out of the AI study was that the depth potential seems to be more substantial than what we were appreciating. And so now you'll notice in the last news release, we went from saying we're going to be drilling 1,000-meter holes to saying, well, there could be 1,000 to 1,500-meter holes, because it looks like those anomalies have a little bit more depth to them than we originally thought.
Yeah, that's very interesting. I did notice that. So it's 3 to 5 holes, totaling roughly 5,000 meters, but some of the holes might be as deep as 1,500 meters. That reminds me of a deposit nearby in this area of Arizona. It's very similar there. So, can you explain maybe in a little more detail, either Craig or Steve, what the AI maybe showed you in terms of the depth potential here?
Craig,
I think
with you.
Yeah, go ahead. Yeah, I think the main thing is that we're getting out of it is, we know we have relatively shallow mineralization from historic drilling, and that's only part of the target. It's a pretty restricted area, and if the AI study, not only gives us an idea that it's a much larger area that we need to explore, but it also gives us the idea that there's deeper mineralization under this historic, intercepts. And one thing I really like out of it is, we originally were thinking about drilling mainly in the area of 5 or 6 historic drill holes, and this gave us an idea to branch out. Okay, it makes sense to go a little bit farther west and drill a hole. So it gives us a reason to step out a little bit more than maybe we would have done otherwise, and also go a little bit deeper.
So at Hot Breccia, you guys have a model, slide 12 in your corporate presentation, something that I used in the video that I did back in August. I think it's been shown quite a few times, and it's really a fantastic graphic that shows the different layers of rocks. And you guys have been talking about targeting these 2 different limestone formations at depth, but by taking a look at this graphic on slide 12 of the presentation, I see the limestones, the Nako limestone and then the other limestone unit are roughly between 400 and, I don't know, 700 meters deep. So what is the AI seeing at depth that makes it want to go deeper?
Well, I think one of the things that we have to keep in mind is that this is truly exploration. We don't know exactly what's down there. Those depths on the carbonate units are estimates based on surface mapping and regional mapping. And until we actually drill into the area, we don't know where the stratigraphy lies. And we should also make the point that there's other formations like the Abrigo that were, important hosts of mineralization at Christmas Mine that are deeper. And there's also a dye-based unit down there that's deeper that has been, regionally has been an important host to mineralization at other deposits in the area. So we really have to keep an open mind. And when the anomaly says that there's something interesting down there, we don't know what it is. We don't know what would cause a conductive anomaly to be present down there. We're hoping that it's copper sulfide mineralization, or at least, iron sulfide, indicating where the overall hydrothermal system is. But really, until we get the truth machine turning, being the diamond drill, we really don't know what's going on down there. So this is very much an exploratory program, and of course there's going to be some very important answers revealed as we start to see the core from depth.
Yeah, there's no substitute for drilling. Yeah, Craig, go ahead.
Yeah, I think another thing that came out of our the data package that we acquired was the hole 1 anyway hit mineralized intrusive rock, which we've always hypothesized, and it would be kind of a normal situation to have those intrusions that cause the mineralization in the sedimentary rocks, in the carbonates. And we hadn't seen that on the surface. We see post-mineral intrusions and dikes that bring up pieces of the mineralized rock. But now, based on the description of hole 1, and I might add, it was the same geologist who did all the geology in the area, Larry Barrett. So he was very familiar with all the units. He recognized a potential mineralizing intrusion there, which, that could be part of what we're seeing with this larger target that we're talking about. So we may actually have a large porphyry intrusion that's mineralized in addition to the skarn mineralization that we already knew about.
Okay, so the data that you fed into the AI, I mean, it was the ZTEM survey. Did you feed in the holes from the 1970s as well?
I think the original data we had was in there, and the main geologic feature, other than the geophysics, was the contact between the overlying volcanic rocks and the sedimentary rocks, because we know that's a pretty important contact for mineralization. So that was an important feature in the AI study.
Okay, so in the second paragraph of today's news, you say the postulated sulfide zone measures 1,100 meters by 1,150 meters, and obviously that's just the horizontal and strike extent of the surface feature. But at depth, I mean, you have no idea how deep this goes. So this is a very large target area. This is not a small target area. And if you're going to drill 5 holes, you better choose them carefully. So can we talk a little bit about where these holes are going to be, you think?
Maybe I just go first again, Robert. So one of the things that the AI study does is it poses drill locations which are designed to encounter as many of the hypotheses as possible that is being generated by the AI study. So we've run many different models at depth, at various depths that Craig and Steve have asked the AI team to run. And now both Craig and Steve have the results, and they will very shortly come up with, probably the first 3 holes. And as we say in the release, that's upcoming. But why don't I turn it over to Craig and Steve, and maybe they can share their thoughts about, let's say what the first 3 holes, where they might be and what the objective of those holes might be.
I can take this one if you want, Craig. The idea is that we're going to start in an area where we know something about the system. We've could potentially describe it as a twinning of an old hole, but it's not really the twinning. What we're doing is starting where we know information, and we're going to be drilling alongside a hole that we know hit strong hydrothermal alteration and mineralization. And then, of course, we're going to continue down into the unknown beyond that, and we'll be going down into the guts of an anomaly at a deeper depth, sitting underneath of it. We think that quite often these the first generation of drilling that was done back in the 1970s sort of hit the upper reaches of the system, and it really tagged into the edge of it, but didn't really give a good idea of how big and strong the system is. And that's what we're hoping to do, is to be able to drill deeper and get into the guts of the system, so that we can see the full potential of size, grade, and strength of the system. And that's what our intent will be with the first 3 holes of this upcoming program.
So the holes that were drilled by Kennecott in the 1970s, to be clear, so people really understand this, there's hole 1, hole 7, hole 8. 7 and 8 both hit nice, intervals of high-grade copper, including 60 feet of 1.4% copper, 4.65% zinc, at about 800 meters depth. And then hole 8 hit 25 feet of 1.73% copper and a little sprinkle of zinc, a little shallower, probably about, I guess that was maybe 650 meters deep. Those are nice holes to follow up on, and perhaps expand those into wider, intervals of drill core. Do you guys have the drill core from those holes?
Right, Craig?
Yeah, there's no core available from those holes, and as Steve mentioned originally, those were destroyed probably in the 90s or something like that, and we have limited information from the description of those holes. We were able to obtain the entire description from hole 1, which also had mineralization at similar depths. I think it was 700 meters or so. So we have limited information on that, and I think also very importantly, the underlying owner of the property, Dr. Linus Keating, he did see the core in the 90s when he worked with Kennecott. He re-logged it and resampled it, particularly for gold, which hadn't really been sampled in the 70s. But and he's the one who really has the visual idea of what was in the core in the past. And we've talked to him many times, and he was very impressed with the core.
So there's a number of key objectives from this phase 1 program at Hot Breccia. One of them is to actually have drill core to analyze and inspect and send to the laboratory, and then get the assays for not just copper, not just zinc, but perhaps gold as well, and maybe a few other metals. That's quite important to do a full analysis and actually have the drill core, and then extend obviously to greater depths and test the theory that's been postulated by both your team, but also the AI analysis, as well. So there's multiple objectives. That's extremely important to come from this first phase of drilling. So my next question is, well, I guess I asked, where are you going to drill? I guess you're still figuring that out. When are you going to drill?
What are you, Alain?
So as soon as we're financed, Robert, so we, as you will recall, we got the permit, I believe in early June. For the permit to become effective, we had to post a bond, and by the time we posted the bond, it was in July, hitting this period that your viewers know very well, the summer doldrums, Robert? So July, August, we have quite a bit of shareholder base in Europe. They also like to take August off. So we, while Steve and I kept marketing the story, and we were on the road meeting investors, we didn't push for the financing to get done at that time. And then September came along, and we've done quite a bit of progress. And our preference for the financing, which is $3 million Canadian, would be to have it brokered. And so we've made tremendous progress. And there should be news on that very, very, very soon. Hopefully in a matter of days, maybe a couple of weeks maximum. And then we will launch the financing, we'll close it, and we'll get the drill on site. Probably we've identified the driller that we like, because Steve has been negotiating with the driller, and he's ready to mobilize at a moment's notice.
So once you have the funds in hand, how quickly can that drill hit the earth?
Very quickly. I mean, the driller we're using is local. He's got equipment and people available. We're fully permitted. So it's going to be a minimal amount of road work to get the roads cleared, to get the equipment on site. And once we have the go ahead, we've got the money in the bank, then we're going to be moving our crews up onto site and getting going right away. It's a wonderful thing being located in the area where we're at. We've got so much incredible infrastructure available to us. We've got a paved highway right to the doorstep. We've got a town nearby with all the necessary support. And even if we needed to get an engine rebuilt, Phoenix and Tucson are only an hour and a half drive away. So it's really a great spot to be able to base ourselves out of.
Yeah, no, it's a fantastic location for a drill program. And actually, I mean, it's kind of interesting how it's come down to later in the year, the colder months. I mean, like, not saying it gets that cold in Arizona. It does get cold at night, actually, and early in the morning, but it's actually perfect weather now for a drill program. It's way better than early August, when your drillers would be battling 110-degree temperatures every day. So maybe it's perfect the way it's played out. I don't want to get too far ahead of ourselves and too far into the weeds, but I think this is an important question. And I know some junior mining investors want to be comfortable with how the management team will report the results and will put out news to the markets. If you could just give us a better handle on what your thinking is around that. I mean, if this is going to be a 3, 4, 5 hole program, every hole is really important. Every hole costs a lot of money. How do you anticipate you will update your shareholders as the drill program evolves?
Maybe I'll start with the my typical philosophical response to that, Robert, and you put it well. And we're very cognizant of that retail is looking for information tomorrow morning. And, you know, we respect that. We're aware of that. However, while we know there'll be pressure on us to release the results, we always say the same thing. So the technical team needs to lay out and agree together on what plan's going to be. We need to let them do the work. And I like to reference when we drilled the east side of the fault at Palos Verdes, and the technical team didn't know exactly how to interpret what they saw. So what's the point, or what was the point then to release those results? And we needed to do extra work, which we did. And that gave us the answer of what we had encountered. And then we released those results. So that's a philosophical thing, you know, if there's something we feel meaningful that we need to release, yes. Now I'll turn it over to Craig and Steve so they can talk about their philosophy as it relates to geology and how to interpret the results of each individual hole.
You want me to take my first shot at that, Craig? Look, I think Alain really hit the nail on the head in terms of making sure that we understand what it is that we're releasing. And, you know, I'm a geologist, and so I tend to take a look at these things from the scientific perspective and say, you know, not only, it's not just drilling the hole, sending out the assays and getting the assays back. What we need to do is understand what it is that we've hit. And sometimes we won't understand what we've hit until we see the same structure or the corresponding facies over in the next drill hole. And so I really like to not predict when we'll be releasing information. I like to just gather the information, interpret it, and then make a release as we see it's important to the market at a time when we see it's important to the market. So, you know, that's probably the approach that I'll endorse, is making sure that we're comfortable that this is the right time to make a release.
Yeah, I think that's right. That's you know, the most important thing is the entire program. It's not one individual hole, and you know, it's you always see things you don't expect, and hopefully you expect most of it, you confirm it, but you never know till that drill, till the core comes out of the ground and you have the assays. So it's important to use all of the information. And as Steve said, if something very important comes along, you might release it. But otherwise, it's use as much as the information as you can understand to before releasing.
Okay, very good. And then Palos Verdes, drill is going there. Do you want to give a little bit of an update on that project?
Actually,
Yes,
I'm on
maybe
site.
as a, Craig, maybe just a quick reminder, so you hit some of the corporate highlights maybe for your viewers, Robert. So Palos Verdes is in the Panuco district, silver gold prospect, and it was a big focus of the company when we took it public. We drilled it before we went public, and then we so far, as a we've drilled 6,000 meters over 33 holes. And after we went public and had done some drilling and found some significant mineralization, we became surrounded by Vizsla Silver. Vizsla Silver went from being an exploration company to having a PEA. We got $700 million market cap, $100 million of cash, and Vizsla Silver is our largest shareholder, and we have a strategic relationship with them. They like the northeast part of the district where we are. Obviously, they're there on three sides, and part of the relationship with them was predicated upon providing us with the ability to continue to explore the Palos Verdes property. But from their property, we also set up a technical committee between their VP exploration, Jesus Villador, Craig, and Dr. Peter McGaw. They have a board seat on our company. They have some rights to maintain their ownership in our company, and they also have a right of first refusal. And And as you said, we've undertaken yet another drill campaign, which is pretty exciting, especially to our, I like to call them legacy shareholders. I should find a better terminology, long-term shareholders, those who have been with us since inception, who know the property very well, the prospects very well, and they know Vizsla also very well. So that said, Craig, over to you.
Yeah, as I was saying, I'm on site. I was just up at the rig yesterday, and we had a little bit of slower startup than we thought initially, and it's mainly because, as Alain said, we're drilling on our strategic partners' ground. So it's not just us going out and drilling like we always have. We need to follow procedures that Vizsla follows. They've drilled well over 100,000 meters of drilling on their project, so they have some pretty well established environmental safety, all those procedures, and probably a little bit more formal than a smaller company like us. So we've gone through all the process of meeting their qualifications, and right now we're drilling one shift, which makes it a little bit slower than we originally considered. I think the first hole's about half done. We should be hitting our first target vein this week, I hope. When I'm on site, that would be best. I want to see that, but we'll see what happens. But I think it's coming along very nicely, and now we're underway. So we're more or less where we wanted to be.
And how many holes in this program, and what's the total number of meters planned?
Well, the original plan was for about 3,000 meters, and we kind of divided it up into two phases. The first part was 3 or 4 holes for about 1,250 meters. And the reasoning is we have several different targets, and depending on what we hit with these first few holes, we may modify some of the later holes to different targets, or drill the same target a little bit more than we originally thought. So it's right now we're looking at about 1,250 meter program. I know that we'll probably take a small break and look at the data, and then start up the second half of the program, which is again about a total of 3,000 meters.
Okay. Great update, gentlemen. I really like junior explorers like Prismo. You guys are doing important work in the mining industry, trying to make new discoveries that are meaningful in terms of grade and scale in important locations. The location of Hot Breccia is really, I think it's second to none. It's unparalleled. It's only paralleled by the mines in the area, the Ray mine, the Resolution, deposit owned by BHP, and Rio Tinto, Miami, Bisbee, obviously is one of the great American copper mines of the last 100 years, owned by Freeport, copper country. And it's one of the most exciting drill targets that I follow currently. And I can't wait to see it get underway over the coming months. I look forward to more updates from Prismo and more conversations like this one with your team. Thank you, gentlemen.
Thank you, Robert.
Thanks very much, Robert.